Okay, so this is the Battle of Fulford, which I've got games on Hastings, one game on Stamford Bridge from the other Hastings game I have, or one of the other Hastings games I have, is a Berg game that I really like. It's sort of a precursor to Musket and Pike, actually, of all things. It contains a similar command structure system to that. There's some definite differences, but you know, it was the first game I've seen that has that kind of command system. This obviously is a Men of Iron. I played, I think it's Revolution Games, but I'm not sure. I played their Hastings. Not sure what company I have, whether I have a Revolution Games Hastings in Stamford Bridge or if it's another company. Let me go see. I covered them not that long ago, like while I was living here. You know, yeah. I count like, what is it, the 8 years or whatever that I've been here as not that long ago, but whatever. The other one that I have is the Revolution Games, 1066 Battles. Doesn't have Fulford, which is a shame because in a way this is maybe more, not as famous as Stamford Bridge, but maybe the more important of the two battles in one sense. I mean, if Godwinson had, because I don't want to just say Harold, because there's two Harolds here, spelled differently. If Godwinson had lost either, it would have been bad, right, for him. It would have been over. But as it was, he was able, to force march and take the Norwegians on in a couple. So what do we got here? We've got what was essentially a Saxon attack on the Norwegian position once again. And let's take a look at any special rules. Both sides have shield walls available. I've got to make a decision there. I've already set up. The Norwegians have the first activation. The battle uses timed engagement. Set the time marker 10. The Norwegians are the timed side. Looking to see if I have a green time marker. We do. Cool. Yeah, I think the Saxons launched the attack, didn't they? Marquis was on the Saxon left. Force. Rather than form a shield wall and wait the Norwegians, the Saxons went on the attack. Morkere and his troops charged into Tostig and the Norwegians under his command. They broke and ran with the Saxons in pursuit. At the same time, Harold attacked along the river and routed Edwin. Edwin is not in this one, is he? Let's keep looking, because maybe there's reinforcements or something. There are no bridges across the Ouse in the immediate area of the battlefield, so it's uncrossable. The marsh is held back by a dike, presumably to keep the road open. The road has no effect on movement or combat. Let's see what the terrain effects are more specifically. The marsh, very expensive to move in, painful to attack from or defend in. Okay, what does that mean? When attacking from or defending in. That's going to be a minus to the attacker, even if somebody's defending in the marsh. And it's got a penalty to missile fire as well, probably some underbrush and whatnot in the way. The dike itself adds a little bit of movement there and adds an additional penalty, so taking a defense up in the marsh would actually be very, very effective. It's not how the battlefield's set up. The river is, of course, not there, and then the normal. Okay. Just wanted to see what the effects were there. Game balance, adjusted die roll for loss checks. When a player makes a loss check, have the die roll result rounding up. Did we have that? We didn't have that in the last one, did we? Yeah, we did. Shit. Son of a bitch. I forgot about that. That ended the battle too early. Oops. Okay. Well, we're not going to fix that. But that gives us our... I mean, kind of can't go back that far. We need the flight level markers. Where the fuck are they? There's the Norwegians, Saxons. Gonna be here under Herald. And both at 15. Okay. Well, so we screwed up with the last battle. It probably shouldn't have been over as quickly as it was, which pleases me a little. It felt like, you know, I set up, just started getting units moving, and it was over. We'll see if I can remember it here. Yeah, see if Simon Says for this one, but that was this must be the bibliography for the whole damn thing, right? Yeah, they're just giving credits here. Yeah, Simon Says was I think Lewis and Evsham, which are going to be also in this set. So in a lot of ways, I didn't really need this. I have games that cover it. Fulford is actually one that I haven't gotten yet. What else is in here that I haven't gotten? Well, the one we just did, Civitate, I don't think... Oh, that sounds familiar, man. I'm wondering if I have some other game system that covers that. Tinchabrai, I'm pretty sure I don't have. But yeah, so about half the battles in this system I already have covered. A couple of them already being Berg designs along this system that maybe I actually favor, but I don't know. I don't know. It's always nice to see the way things move. Yeah, I got to make my decision on the shield wall, and I'm going to take a break. You know, I was thinking about doing some yard work or something, but then I'm kind of like, yeah, but my ass itches. I should bathe again. Kind of funny, I feel this sort of hyperactivity feeling, and it may be, again, I blame the fact that I, you know, on Tuesday night, whatever, spent time drinking when I wouldn't normally, and you know, engaging in contact with another human, which again I almost never would. But everything's kind of like, wow, I don't really want to go do raid, which is like my default, right? And I don't actually need to. There's nothing pressing to do right now. There's things I could do that aren't a bad idea, but I'm really not terribly incentivized by the game right now to be doing anything. And I'm almost done with my book, and I just like, I'm not sure I want to do this. This is the ADHD type side of me, I think, which is like just paralyzed by the opportunities to do whatever the hell I want. And I will probably misuse my time as usual. Right, so back down here. I'm trying to figure out if it's okay if I count backwards. I think it is. I just have to remember the halving of the dice. Which means that instead of, you know, things beginning to trigger at 9, they begin to trigger at 4? Right? Maybe 5. I'm not really sure, because what it says is have the die roll result rounding up. I think 5. I think if I'm down to no, I'm having trouble. So Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it works. Ah, fuck. Which means I have to do it this way? Have the die roll... No, that can't be. It can't be that it doesn't work. So the way you do this is... you add half a die roll plus whatever's on here. Which means, I think... I don't know. I don't fucking want to deal. Like, I don't want to deal with having to go forward, because then I have to remember the 15, right? Which is not helpful. But let's say this is down to a 9. That means I've taken 6, right? Half a die roll, let's say I roll a 9 on my die, I will get a 5, which is half of 9 rounded up. So that would break me. Now, would that be the same situation? Otherwise, I would have gone 6, right? And 5 and 6 is only 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it doesn't work. I can't work backwards. Fuck me. Alright. The decision on the shield wall. So I'm left with 2 big choices here. As far as I'm concerned, it is the Norwegians who are timed, right? Let me find the timed engagement. The Norwegian is the timed player. So I could throw all of the Saxons under shield wall. Could do the same with the Norwegians, but... or I could do as historically and not do that. And I just don't believe in giving up what I think is an advantage. Now, the Norwegians could throw themselves under shield wall as well. But remember, they're under a limitation on the time period. You'll notice something interesting, the way both armies are actually set up the same way. Which is... I've got archers on the flank, but I've got pikemen in the middle. Now, for the Saxons, this is probably the Greater Feared or whatever here. And I've got some other forces. Now, you could mix the axemen in differently. I've got some other forces backing them up, which is, again, more pikemen, really spearmen, but and some axemen. I take a look here at the Norwegians, and it's all spearmen. They do not have the equivalent to, I guess, what are the Huskarls here, which is interesting. And while Harold is here, wow. Hold on. This is fucking wrong. The Saxons are green. Right? Yeah, the Saxons are the green ones. Let's set them up with the shield wall instead. I'm like, whoa, that's Harold Hardrada with an A as opposed to an O. And then I ran over, and yeah, that's Tostig, the other Harold's brother? I think so. And another Earl. Okay. I think we're going to set up that way and let the Norwegians open things up. I haven't pulled my chits yet. What do I have for chits? Which I really don't like. I got 4 Norwegian seizure counters, only 2 for the Saxons. The Saxons are green, so they'll be pulling from this set. And the Norwegians are kind of brown, which I guess is this tan here. They got... This is the most annoying thing, having to look these fuckers up. I wish there was a list of them here. Is there? Seizure. Here we go. There we go. Okay, cool. That helps a lot. So I've got a couple of seizure opportunities. Great. I've got an Into the Breach, which is a +1 DRM, and Battle Cry, which is a rally. Okay. And over here, I have another Battle Cry and one seizure opportunity. How do we open? Well, I guess we charge. 1, 2, 3, 4. What does the fucking shield wall do to me? Oh, it's going to be a DRM. That's about it. If he's in shield wall, he can leave shield wall by paying what? At the beginning of the game or upon activation before doing anything else, place these units into or out of shield wall. Yeah, so I can drop shield wall at any type I want. So, if I'm going to launch an attack, I ought to probably throw the rest of the Norwegian force into shield wall, because there doesn't seem to be any cost for being in it. Particularly, yeah, you can drop it whenever you like. Who do I want to launch my first attack with? Let's attack with Tostitos first. And of course, if we had done the shield wall the other way, I think there's not enough of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, there's just enough to cover that front line. I could conceivably have covered more than that. And that means I'll leave these guys open. I'll take my first activation with them. They drop their shield wall if they had it. And 1, 2, 3. I fire. I'm going to fire at this so that I don't get shot back at. It's just archers firing a foot unit. Shield wall effect? Yes. Of course. That's a 0. That does not help. And now I march forward. I will hit his archers as well. His archers get a counter strike at me, which is successful, unfortunately. This is not going to go well. So, yeah, I can attack the archers with that one. That's fine. Right? No, because boop, 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 boop. Okay, somebody's going to have to hit 2 units. Who do I want hitting 2 units? I think I'll have this guy hit both units. What do my chits do? Battle Cry is the one I want. Into the Breach. Into the Breach is the one I want. I will give him a bonus because he's going to be the guy hitting 2 units. Alright. And we'll open up down here. So we got Pike hitting archers. This is the first time we've done this particular lineup. That gives us a +2 right there. Yeah. +2 and +3, +4 for who he is. Attacker's disordered, drops it to +2. We get an 8. Defender disordered, retreat a hex. And this moves forward. This was the guy doing 2 hits. Do we want to hit with him next? I don't think it really makes much difference. So sure. So he is going to fire off. It's going to be pike versus pike. I'm guessing that's a 0. I'm guessing it's always a 0 when you do against the same type. But I want to check to make sure. And his attacks are going to be... I'm hitting a shield wall here. I hit a shield wall on that other one, didn't I? No, I hit an archer. Okay. Here I'm hitting a shield wall. That's got to have an effect. And I'm looking through... That's a -1. Okay. So I'm at 0, I'm at -1, I'm at -2 because of strength on both of them. The red die will be the guy on top. That gets a 6, which is Defender Disordered. That does not get rid of the shield wall. And the other one is a 4, drops to a 2, is a no result. Both cases are engaged. So I put this into play. We get down to the next one. Okay. Here he has a possible leader advantage, but it's not really there. So I will be hitting this at a -1. Five is 4, no result. We get an engaged. Here, we've got a charisma bonus, so it's at a 0. 4 is an engaged. -1. A 2, attacker's disordered, but there's no retreat, so there's an engaged. And this makes sense. The troops shouldn't be able to disentangle themselves from where they're fighting. And another -1 here. Another attacker disordered. Oh, there's little fired markers on the back of these suckers. Which can help to determine if somebody's shot, you know. Whatever kind of fire they can only do once, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that's like that. What was this? Once a missile unit's fire, its move fire is finished. Sure. Return fire. When fired up from the same range, there's... Yeah, this is each time. Yeah, I don't know why you'd have a fired marker. Maybe with the crossbows or something, there's some rule for it that makes sense for it. Okay, now I want to do a continuation. Now the question is, do the Saxons want to hit back? Well, I don't see a reason to. I think everything looks pretty good right now. So I'm going to let him go for his continuation. That's going to be him. He has a number somewhere under there. It is a 4. He does not get it, so it's a free activation. If the Saxons wanted to pass, they could, but they don't. So now they're over on activation, and I'm going to break for a moment or two at least, because, yeah. So what I want to do for the most part is hit back at his weaker units. Now I have to find the color stripes here to see who's who. That's blue, that's blue. Okay, so this is the dividing line between the two units. I'm going to take my free activation over here on the blue unit, and the first thing that I can do is I can pull my archer back. I don't think it hurts that he's disordered. Yeah, it does. It's a -1. Okay. And you gotta check everything, man, because it might be. So that's an archer against a regular pike unit. And we're just going to be at the -1 for being disordered. We get a 4 against a disordered unit. We retire this pike unit. Okay? And we put a retired marker on it, because otherwise... And you'll note I didn't put shock markers down. I feel like there's a lot of excess reminder type stuff in this game that sometimes is useful, but not always. Alright. Now, I've got attacks here, 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 here that I have to make. I've got an extra unit I can move. This guy. I got more than one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since this is being shocked by 2 units, I'm going to just put a shock marker here, but right now I get to shoot at him when he moves into my hex, or into adjacency. And he's disordered. Okay, great. But overall, I feel like I'm at an advantage. I believe I'm allowed to attack out of shield wall. Not sure it would make sense otherwise. See if we can find the rules for shield wall again. It cannot shock attack. Oh, we're dropping shield wall on all of these. We want to attack back. There is no question. So there we go. And now we hit back. And we don't do this one, but we do the rest of these. Let's start, I don't know. Let's start from over here. So, +1. And this will be against a disordered unit. That's shitty. They flipped the opposite direction from what I'm used to from Summer Storm right now. Here, the leader doesn't give you a defensive bonus, and that will simply be a 0. No result. Stays in place. Fuck. I can't operate things with my left hand well enough, but I can't hold my camera in the left hand either. Here I'm attacking +1, +2 because of the leader against a non-disordered unit. 8. Defender disordered, retreat a hex. That gets rid of the engaged marker. And we get to advance. And we keep our facing. Here I've got 2 units attacking this. That's going to give me +1 for strength bonus. I've got a disordered unit attacking. Is that a -2? I mean, it's normally a -2, but is it? I don't know. So that's not here. Fuck. Where does it handle multi-unit attacks? Oh, fuck. This is all charges. It can't be here. It's got to be before that. There's so many fucking words. And I can't find the place that says these two guys attack together. And this is really fucking annoying. Like, I remember the old rules being relatively easy to find the shit in. And then there's like these color things just to make it hard to pay attention to what the fuck you're trying to read. That's advance after combat. This is charge. It's got to be in this page, basically. Somewhere. Okay, here we go. It's just in the middle of a paragraph, not in its own rule or anything, right? If one attacker is attacking 2 hexes and all units in both hexes retreat before combat, well, no, this isn't what I'm looking for. The attacker may pick one to advance. No, that's not it. So it's got to be like buried in the middle of a paragraph here. All shock charge, yeah, we got to read every fucking line to see the little piece of information we want, because there's no distinguishment through much of the rules. And now I don't see it. I still don't see it. I don't know. I'm just going to assume the -2 applies. That gives me a -1 net. Now, I roll 1 die because I'm attacking 1 enemy. Who is not disordered. So I get a 4. That's a no result. These are all still engaged. And now we've got an attack of pike against archer. The archer doesn't have any right to retreat. It's not cav. So pike hitting archer is +2. +5. But I'm disordered, so it drops it to +3. Which gets me defender disordered, retreat a hex. Let me go in without engaging. Okay, well. Saxons can try to go for a will go for a continuation. I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know, do I actually want to do these things? We got a point over here. Brown has collected a point. Yeah. I'm really unhappy that I can't do what I thought would be simpler. And that means we're almost out of battery. I need to switch, and I need to decide whether the Saxons want to go for their continuation or not. Once they declare that they are, the Norwegians have the opportunity to try to seize it, but I'm not really sure that I don't want to let them go. A seizure is a battle. Like before, you had to pick a leader to do a seizure, so it was clear that it was a particular battle. Here, though, it's off these stupid chits, but it is still a battle. We checked that, which means I can't like trigger the standard, which I would like to do. So what I'd really like to do is have him fail at his activation. So I will let him activate if he wants to, but he could also just pass and hand the initiative back to me. But I don't think he wants to do that. All right. But it is a free activation over here. And that means I could activate either of my forces. This one's pretty beaten up. How do I get out of engaged? Unit may disengage by moving if it is not disordered or out of command. Oh, I'm disordered. So, most of my units are disordered, I think. Many of my units are disordered. So I really can't get my battle out of there very easily. On the other hand, I don't really want to slam into this other shield wall here. cheap because I was something of an idiot. I'm going to move these guys up this far. That way they would still be in command no matter what. Like, they lost their command. And I'm trying to make a decision, hey, you know, do I want to do something? Well, I want to be able to move pieces if I do take this command. I think I'm going to launch this attack here. And it will be similar to the last attack. I don't like that. I don't like it. Yeah. I'll shoot the pikemen first. I don't want to shoot the archers. I don't think that's terribly a good move. -1 for firing at the shield wall. I think it's a disorder anyhow. So this flips sideways. It's harder to flip things sideways. Okay, and now I trigger these guys. Let's get their shield walls off. We were planning on attacking. Am I allowed to attack somebody who's engaged? I think I'm not. No, I think I can. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll move him here. He's. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, boink, boink. 1, 2, 3, 4. They start off right in combat with each other. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoot! Doesn't do anything. Problem. Now, okay. This guy's going to be hitting both of these. I'll mark that with a shock marker between them both. I got to move these guys, though, again, because I want to move them forward enough that they're in command. I think that's fine. I like leaving some space. It makes life easier, to be honest. So here to here is hitting. Shield wall is a -1. That's about it. I get a 4. No result. So now we have. See, this is weird because these are different commands. But I think we have this pronged engaged marker. If I can find one. Anyhow. Because if he activates, he has to hit both of those. But if either one of these activates, they attack on their own. Again, -1. Attacker disordered. No retreat, though. Let me make sure. Oh. Lots and lots of words all in one place. Where the fuck does it actually say how they get engaged? Place an engaged marker atop the units to so indicate. Okay, engaged represents units mixing it together. Retired units can't engage. Tell me when I engage. Man, these rules are fucking obnoxious. They used to be clean. They really did. They've gotten really wordy, and it's hard to find what you're looking for. Is it in the green here? Yeah, it is. Yeah, okay. Okay. Gotcha. So we just got an engaged marker there. Yeah, the way the rule book is organized, I definitely remember it being more accessible before. Hitting this, that's going to be at -1, but I cancel it out with my leader. I get a big 6, which disorders the defender. That causes a leader loss check and an engaged marker. Leader loss somewhere. Okay, 5.4, the leader just died. That's worth a whole bunch of points. And is a big deal. Anytime a leader is stacked with one or more units that retards this, see the game-specific leader casualties chart. Yeah. If he's killed, remove him from the game. Okay. Replacement leader. Okay. So, useless here has been killed. He is... I'm sorry, I thought it said useless. It says Edwin. He will be replaced by this leader, who is pretty lousy. I'm going to put this over here on the flag and hope I remember it. He shows up when? The beginning of the next move fire phase, yeah. So he'll show up no matter what when the Saxons get in action. But that has some point value. Now the point values are not in the booklet. So you got to look them up no matter what. Which is over here. Okay, we got to read through the whole list because you can't put them one online. Overall commander, named battle leader other than king or overall commander. Was this an overall commander? This was not. So that is worth 2 FPs for green. We'll put that back here to remind me. Okay. And where are we? We just did him. We're on this guy. He's hitting this one at a -1. And why are we going into so much detail? I don't know, honestly. Perhaps because we fucked up the last battle, but it's also like there's not a whole hell of a lot going on, but there are a lot of little mechanical actions, so I think about it. Okay, so this pike is hitting this pike and this archer. Since I'm hitting 2 units, I roll for each one separately. Against the pike, it's in shield wall but has a +1. It's a 0 against the pike. I get a 4. That's going to be a no result. We'll get an engaged if we need one. Against the archer, it's +2, +4. We're not disordered. And these are done simultaneously. Ah! I was over on the disordered side for this attack. It's really hard with the shield walls to see that a unit's damaged. Like, there's just too many counters on the board to see things easily. 6, I was at +4, -1 for strength. Something, I don't know. I don't remember anymore. +2, +4, I got a lot. Defender disordered retreat X. Okay. Now, what happens in engagement when I get a hit that retreats somebody and a hit that doesn't? Well, where did it tell me? Add engage whenever it doesn't hit this. Yeah. When a unit attacks 2 units, ignore the engaged when combining engaged and retreat results. Also ignore the engaged in combination with continued attacks. So I actually push forward here past that unit. So the engaged actually doesn't happen. And we're done with that activation. Do we get a continuation? We're going to try for one. Does he want to try to break this up? Yeah, I think it's these initial battles that are important. I don't have a siege negator. So this is going to be 0 through 6. I try to launch an attack against these now weakened units that just hit me. I do not get it. That gives a free activation over here, which guess I use that. I'm never going to remember to use the battle cry. What the fuck? That rallies a unit, right? Rallies one friendly retired unit. See, I could use that shit to rally this, but he's next to the flag. He's not really getting hurt anywhere. And the question is, what do I want to do? And I feel like I'm winning on this flank, so I'm going to activate this side. I will fire my weapon first. That's going to be a -1 on the disordered table. That's a 4. I retire him, which loses his shield wall. We'll go over here. A retired unit bumps that up 1. And now we're going to put a shock in here just to remind me we got engaged all the way through here to here. There's not a lot we can do with that. Can we do anything with the rest of our units? 1, 2, 3, 4. We can. Let's put this up. Let's shift up another hex. These axemen, we don't know what they do. Are they potent? Axe attacking pike. Yes, they are. They're good units. But we wanted to launch... Wow, I thought only the Saxons had the axe. Seems like the Saxon... the Huscarls wouldn't be here because Godwinson's not here. Okay, good enough. But Hardrada has his own axeman. We've moved everything. Now we get to launch our attacks. This just moved into here. I get a shot with him that I didn't take. Fuck. Right? No. He did not just move in there. He hit them, drove them back, and he's standing there. So he's just getting a shock attack. So we'll do that. We're at +3, +4, +5. Hitting that against a disordered unit. That gets me a 10. Defender eliminated. Continue attack. I got to figure out what's up with that. This will go here. We just eliminated an archer. I don't know how much archers are worth. Again, there really ought to be a cheat sheet with this information on it. Archers are worth 2. He was not retired, so he goes up to 5. And we'll put him somewhere. Okay. But we take care of these first. We got pike versus shield wall with no well, undisordered, which means, I don't know, I can't see. Undisordered, which means we're just at -1. That's a 7. The defender's disordered. He keeps his shield wall, though. Here, we are at +1, -1, +1. So we're at +1 against a disordered unit. 7. Defender retired. I'll put him back there. Look for a retired marker. And that's another point for green. These are no longer engaged. They march forward. They're not allowed to change facing. Here, we're at -1. We are disordered, which puts us to -3 against a non-disordered enemy. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. Wait, we are disordered. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. Wow, that's a little weird. I would think that they would retire. Okay. We fall back. Does the defender advance? I think they do, but I'm not certain. So we look for advance after combat. Nope. Only have, well, it says if a defender vacates the hex. Maybe it says something about attackers too, because there's so many fucking words. But I don't think so. I don't think we swarm forward. And now here we have a pike against shield wall pike. We are hitting at -1. I don't think we get the strength advantage here because this guy's not attacking at the same time. Let's make sure. Strength advantage. The player with the highest number of units. Yeah. So if we weren't playing with the engaged rules, I certainly wouldn't get it, and I wouldn't even be thinking about it. So it's not there. I'm at a -1. I get a 0. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. Okay. I will fall back this way, I guess. This changes the engaged marker. But these two are still engaged, and this guy's rotating, and I don't have fingers that work. Continued attack. Over here, +1, -1, I'm at a 0. There's an advantage to being the attacker. This is why the Saxons attack. I get a 1. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. Okay. There goes the continued attack, which looks like an energy drink. There's an energy drink that looks exactly like this, or something. Okay. I activated this. Green is out of preemptions. So I can try to activate this. And I succeed. This moves up to a -1. And what do I want to do? Interesting question. My archer could fire at range 1. That's not bad. Or I could fall back. I like the idea of falling back and firing. I am disordered, so I'm still at -1, but I'm firing at a disordered unit. That ain't gonna help. Okay. Now I can move forward. 1, 2. Put a shock in there. Although everything is kind of shocking. This guy can pull back. He will do so. 1, 2, 3. Everybody else is engaged. 1, 2, 3. We got shock markers going from... I needed a different space. I needed more space in here because I had other units, other things to put on there. So these two are shocking him. Okay. Now what? Battle cry doesn't help me. These are seizures. Okay. I could have played the battle cry to recover him. I chose not to. And what do we do? Let's go over here first. So he's attacking. He had to move, so he can't recover this turn. He's attacking against a disordered unit at +2. It's a 3, no result. We get an engaged marker. Now all this crap with the engaged markers, sort of a double-edged sword. It's a lot of shit on the board, and it's kind of annoying, and you can see, and it limits your choices. On the other hand, I like having my choices limited. It's also more accurate. But what I was going to say is, if I don't have that in play, what ends up happening is I end up having to make a lot of different decisions and moving units around, shifting, trying to get advantages. Feels a lot more like Ancient Battles Deluxe. This feels better. Okay. Pike unit hitting both of these. So I'm hitting a disordered unit and a non-disordered unit. The disordered unit I'm hitting at +1 on the disordered table. You get a big 10. Defender eliminated, continue attack. That's a big deal. So this is a pike unit. Pike units are worth 2, I think. That shifts that up here. And I have a continued attack, which I need to kind of put here. But now I've got another attack here, which is at 0. I was actually, I'm at -1 because of the strength. I always forget the strength bonus. It wouldn't have made a difference on that last one. And I had another case that was like it that I didn't worry about that. Attacker disordered retreat hex. The retreat takes predominance over the continue attack, I believe. Maybe not. That sounds false, actually. If I get a retreat and a continued attack, what happens? Somewhere they told me this. I'm pretty sure that it's the continued attack that takes precedence. I don't know where to find that. Continued attack, place the marker if a continued attack, I don't see it there. A unit that must retreat, it must end its movement, blah, 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 lots and lots of fucking words. They really tried to nail every fucking thing down by putting too many words in the game. Again, this is... Okay, well, I don't know. In my head, I know that continued attack takes precedence over the disorder, but I checked for a reason, and now I can't fucking find it. It's not in either of these big paragraphs of words that I see. But again, you know, I'm having to, like, skim these. And this may have been only applicable to charge as opposed to something else. Or something. I don't know. Advance after combat is part and is not undertaken. The advancing unit may change. It may be here. It is disordered and did not receive a continued attack. If more than one unit attacked, I don't know. If there was a continued attack result, place a continued attack. If a single unit attacked 2 defenders and both hexes are vacated, no. If a single unit attacked 2 defenders and only one was vacated, yeah, sort of. Unless the other combat result causes the attacking unit to retreat. A continued attack result overrides any retreat result. That's where it is. It's not under the results. Thanks, guys. Okay. So he actually advances, even though he would have gotten a retreat result. That is going to break the engaged marker and push that unit there. Now he's not going to get a continued attack, but it did allow him the breakthrough that he wanted. Now he's also not allowed to change facing because he got a continued attack. Here we have 2 pikes hitting a pike. Yeah, everything's a fucking pike. Chill out, dude. Okay. Which means we have a +1 for strength there. And that's it. It feels like I should get more, right? I got 2-to-1 odds, don't I? Yeah. But a +1 can be pretty big. Defender disordered retreat a hex. That causes a leader casualty check. This is the only retreatable hex. One of these 2 gets to advance. Oh wait, I have an axeman. Yeah, we'll send the axe forward. This shock is here. And leader loss check. Nope. Come over here. Pike against pike. Yeah, I mean, everything's pike against pike, but I couldn't see what kind of unit it was because of all the markers that are on the board to indicate that I have to attack. Those are the engaged markers. It's why I don't use the shock markers for the most part, because they also clutter things. So this is going to be a +1 because of my leader. I get a 7 defender disordered. You really want to hurt the defender. You really want to hurt the opponent when you're fighting a war game, because that makes it harder for him to attack back and all kinds of other stuff. You really want to get that hit in. So for example, here I'm attacking at +1 against a disordered unit, but I'm disordered, so I'm at -2, so it nets out at -1. But it's on the disordered chart, so it might still be good for me. And it sure is this time. Defender deleted. And get a continued attack, which pushes forward. It's possible that continued attack could mean something if somebody retreats into that. We destroyed a pikeman. That's worth 2 points. Looks like the Saxons are just fucking hosed. And here we're hitting a shield wall, which means -2, -3 against a normal unit. Not a good attack at all, but we got to do what we got to do. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. I am disordered. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. I'm really confused by that it's got a double disordered result. Okay. What does that mean? Yeah, I don't know. Now, that was a continuation from here. He's out of any kind of seizures, so I can go back here and try to continue again at -1 now. I might as well, if I can find my leader. I've got a 4 that drops me to a 3. That's still pretty likely. And I'd like to punch forward. I've got another line of units coming through. I don't get lucky with that. That puts this here. That puts him somewhere. And we're going to break. Okay, so here's what's funky. At this moment, I feel like it's time to check for a loss. This is when the turn ends to me, right? But when I'm going to actually have to check for a loss is after he takes his free activation. This is at 10. That means on a roll of a 9, I get a destruction chance. And that's why the halvesies doesn't work here. I don't fully understand the math, like I'm not picturing it. My brain is not working right now. I don't know why. I feel like I did when before I started smoking, to be honest. Well, I was already smoking by that point, but there was a point where things all settled down in my life somehow. And right now, the last couple days, I've been feeling charged and very odd for me, like almost alive. But also, more than that, like very, very like disconnected buzzings and all that in terms of like being able to pay any focus to anything. But yeah, I need to break. Because I'm locking that all into, I've always locked it into when I started smoking heavily all the time, a lot. But I start thinking back, like what happened recently. Hey, I had a social experience, okay? And I'm really unused to them. And then I start thinking back to when I first started, like, feeling this way. Not this way, feeling the opposite of this. Like, I felt this way all through my teens, all through my early 20s. And it was very disconcerting. I had many moments of this. But, no, because I was at work in an office and I didn't feel this way, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I was going to say it's the social interaction, but I don't think it's the case. I don't know what the hell's going on. Because during that period, like when I first started noticing that I had settled down, I was having much, much less interaction with anyone other than my wife at that point. Yes, I was still seeing people once a week or whatever, but like it was a definite slowdown in the amount of interaction that I had with people. But I also remember when I had the pipe in my mouth or whatever, I was calmer even when I was around people. So I think it actually has more to do with the tobacco. I wasn't smoking right now, but I think something just tripped a wire in me. And I'm like, really not able to settle down at all. It's like everything's just flying around. Whew. All the clutter on the board, I left a couple of these continued attacks there, which should not be there. Why are these all here? Wow. This is really weird. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Anyway. So, the hard question now is playing as the Saxons. I mean, I could pass, but for some reason there's a green marker there. Fuck me. The Norwegians. Oh no, timed. The Norwegians are the timed side. This should not be green. It should be tan. Yeah. As the Saxons, if I pass at this moment, that would trigger the timer. But it's obvious that the Norwegians are fighting the battle. I'm not going to be able to win it by just pushing the time limit. So then the question is, which one of my commands do I want to fire off first? Well, I think there's an advantage to me doing stuff, which means if I fire these guys off, I can get, well, I know what I want to fire off. I want to fire this off. That's what I want to fire off. There we go. All right. Now I get a continuation. My better chance of a continuation is over here. Do I want to try to seize? Yeah, I think I'm in a position where I can break him. So I'm going to try to siege, or seize. Oh, wait. Before I do that, we make the check here. Now, it's 10. I have to get to 15, which would mean normally a 5, but that means only on a 9 does the battle end, and it does not. Okay, so now we go to a seize opportunity, against him, and we have 0 through 6s on both of those. So we'll do that. We fail, which throws it back to him as... No, I don't know. It doesn't throw it back, does it? But I don't, no, I think it does. What happens? What happens? If the DR is higher than the range, there's no seizure, the active player gets a free activation. Yeah, so I get a free activation, so I'm going to actually activate this unit. I was going to try to continue with that one, but I'd rather go with this one because this one has a better chance of succeeding in a free activation. And in order to do this, we're going to pull those shield walls off because we want to be able to attack. And leave these behind. Do they have to be in command? They're in command right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what the fuck range is. So many numbers on the counters, but command range is the middle number, which is only 3. 1, 2, 3. I would have to stay where I am. I do not have a bonus, a charisma bonus on this leader, so he doesn't serve much purpose. So I'm just going to leave him there. And what am I going to launch? I don't know. I'll hit here. Do I want to hit this guy? He's kind of weak. I'll hit him. I'd like to hit the flank here. The danger is he goes out of command if I send him in. So I'm going to send this in. These two are rallying. Is there some kind of rally marker? I don't think there is, but it might be on the back of something. Shut up. I don't think there's a rally marker, which I really don't like. I'm going to put this over here to indicate that they rally if they make it to the end of the turn. Be a lot more useful than some of these other markers that I barely use, right? I could use the charge counter used. That's not anywhere. All right, and that means we have a whole bunch of shocks going on. All right already. We'll start with this one here. I'm a pike hitting a pike. I'm hitting from the flank, which I think is +2, +3 because of his defense against a disordered unit. I get a 0, which is not good. I get a no result, but I do get an engagement because of that. Now I believe he's able to rotate while he's engaged. Here we have 2 units attacking. Again, pike versus pike. +1 for strength. But the biggie is we're hitting from multiple angles, which brings it to +5. And that's it. It was a 7. That'll bring me to 12. Defender disordered, retreat a hex. I'll fall back here, I guess. This guy's the one who wants to advance because he gets to rotate a position if he does so. Otherwise, there was no effect. Now, this is why you want shock markers on there, because I've got adjacency, but I'm working my way down, so whatever. There might be reasons not to do that, though. I am at -2 attacking there. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. I am disordered. This does not advance. Let me make sure I'm doing that right. It feels like if you get disordered and you're disordered. Nope, have no additional effect. How about that? It just feels to me like a unit that's disordered and gets disordered again should probably retire. Is not the case. Which is cool. It means I've been doing it right. +1 here. Defender disordered. And engaged. And here, +2 on the disordered table. Which gets me a 6. Defender retired. That's going to be a second point for him as these advance. And this is the orange. I'll put that here. We got 2 of them there that corresponds with that. You could very easily screw up and get these points wrong. That's one of the reasons why I'm keeping units out here. So this is like 2, 4, 6. The leader I can't really do anything about. I don't know what that costs. And that's part of the problem. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. These recovered. Did I get their points back? I don't know. Damn it. I don't think I recovered their points. But now they're actually recovered doubly because they got rid of their disorder markers. Everyone else has theirs. So I think this is the right point total. I find keeping track of stuff on tracks painful, to tell you the truth. We go back over here. Do we want to trump in? Not particularly, because his chances are pretty lousy. Though not as lousy as they look. But he gets a reactivation over here. What do we do? Well, we've got an engagement here. That's not us. We've got an engagement here. Could attack that. That's not pleasant, but it's an axeman. I don't know. We're all in command. This guy's not in command. He's not able to disengage. I believe he has to fight, though. I think we're going to shoot these pikemen. Hey, that's not good. Okay, so he fired. Let's put a fired marker on him right now. But I'm so unused to doing this that it's not going to do me much good because we're going to start getting shock markers everywhere. Right? Here's a shock attack against this unit, hitting its flank. Here's a shock here. I got the engaged. Against that, I got the engageds here. I'll move this up and shock. I can find my markers. And I'll move this up and shock. Okay. And that's the mess we have. All right. Well, let's handle. See, this guy could disrupt things, so I want to do him last. So I've got an engaged and a shock here, but this doesn't actually count. This isn't part of my fight. So I'm shocking a disordered unit +1. That's it. Unless that's not a pike. +1 is 8 against the disordered. That'll retire this unit. That's another Norwegian hit. And that was this guy who has to advance. We'll keep him facing that way. Engaged. What does Battle Cry do? Battle Cry lets me rally one of my units. Any restrictions on it? Because I might want to rally this thing. He's kind of in an annoying position. Where do I find that? Well, I look all over the place. And flip looking for a picture of those counters or something. I'm way out of range for that, right? No, ceasing continuity. It's way towards the beginning, sure. Battle Cry. Any one friendly retired unit. No, that doesn't help. Okay. It allowed me to rally a disordered unit, which is what I want to do. All right. So now we're here, I guess. I am hitting that. I'm disordered, so I'm -2. Gets me a 2. Attacker disordered. I stay as I am. Okay. We come down here. I'm disordered, hitting an axeman. Pike hitting axe is, I believe, +1. While axe hitting pike is +1. Kind of interesting. They're both offensively inclined against each other. So I'm at +1, +2, but I'm disordered, so that gets me to a 0. I get a big 3. The attacker's disordered. That has no effect, but it does force a leader loss check. And that's a 7. The leader has died. This is my overall leader. He's not a king. And we look for the colored section that tells us what happens. Each eliminated overall commander, that's 3 friction points. Or flight points, whatever. Okay, great. And we stay disordered and we stay engaged. That was this. That was this. Okay. We become engaged. Okay. Over here, this is kind of exciting. 2 pikes hitting a pike. +1, +5 on the disordered table. That gets us a 9. He's eliminated. We get a continue attack. I could come in with this or with that. Eliminated means 2 more flight points there. Which one? I don't know, but I think I'll put this one in. And he gets a continued attack, and we'll take it that way. Now the attack over here. This is a disordered unit hitting its own type. That's going to give me a -2, which is a 1. Attacker disordered, retreat a hex. I do believe I'm allowed to retreat into this crap. Let's take a look. We went over a dike. There doesn't seem to be any notice. We went into a marsh. I see a B when attacking from or defending in a marsh. Yeah, it's not where I want to be particularly, but it's the only place I'm allowed to go. Okay. And now we have the continued attack coming in here, which is going to be +1 because Pike's bonused against this ship. There's a -1 for the Axeman. I don't think I took that into account, that he's better defended. So that's at even. It doesn't include any of these other things, but I get to hit it again. For good or ill. Well, attacker disordered, retreat a hex. Great. We were facing this way. We were facing that way. I don't know if I was misfaced. Like I might have had to attack with this unit. Well, this would have, I don't know. I just don't know. That gives me a chance for another continuation. Now I could pass, but there's not really much advantage to that. So I'll come back over here. I'm at -1. I need a 1 or a 0 to get it. He's definitely not going to jump in now. And we're back here. He's up at 11, which is not a good place to be. That still means I need at least an 8 to break, though. Guys that come with the game, if I was upstairs in the loft, I would be hunting for 10-siders to match the colors of the units. I don't have 10-siders down here in large quantity. I'm flipping through looking for, here we go, out of command effects. A unit that's within, may not move adjacent or, it doesn't look like they have reduced movement points or anything. Countercharge, move into a hex with an enemy standard move if they begin adjacent. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to trigger this standard. Get these back. Now I might want to fling my standard forward, but that's usually such an expensive process, and this battle, for example, looks just too small to ever bother with that. Now I make a check for the Saxons. Now, technically both sides are rolling, but he's at +5. He would have to roll a 20 on one die to be impacted. But the Saxons, like I said, need an 8, and the battle's over. The Saxon army withdraws, or routes, or something, and the Norwegians won. And you can see it was a little longer than the last one. I think the last one would have ended up where it did. The game kind of snowballs. Yes, the Norwegians started taking some losses as things went. It does seem to favor the attacker heavily, though. Like, I mean, hitting a shield wall, to me, we'll see when we hit Hastings, because that's the one I'm most familiar with how the battle should kind of go. But to me, it feels like hitting a shield wall should not be to your advantage. Like, it should not go well. But that's Fulford. We are almost definitely not going to do another one off of here today. I've got like a little bit of time towards raid. I'm having like vague thoughts of playing, of going through a command phase in Summer Storm. There's good reason for me not to go outside and do any yard work, although it's a pleasant temperature right now and not that bad in any sense of the word. Every time I do it, like what I really need to do is on the hill itself, and every time I play around on the hill I hurt my ankle, I probably hurt my back, and tomorrow's dancing, and I don't really want to fuck myself up. So there. I had a nap at least. Alright. So that's the Battle of Fulford. Again, I mean, I certainly would have been set up in shield wall. I couldn't avoid the fact that the Norwegians got first activation. There is no way that I could get the historical results. Even if I set up without shield wall, it wouldn't have given me any advantage, because you can drop shield wall at the beginning of your activation. So I took the advantage of doing that, and still got plowed. Still got plowed hard. The Saxons have less counters, so they're in a more problematic situation. I don't know. The next one will be Stamford Bridge, and we'll get to see something of a rematch. All right, up it goes.